Hey guys, welcome to the Jared Williams Show. I'm Jared. This is Joel, my not so beautiful counterpart. And you're welcome. I've scaled my plumbing business to over $5 million a year, but Joel doesn't have a plumbing business. He's just here because he doesn't have anything better to do. So today,
I'm homeless, and Jared's just
totally
taking me
homeless.
in.
But today we're going to talk to you guys about some small changes that you can make in your business that most people miss these steps. Changes that you can easily double your profit. Whoa, holy cow.
Holy cow.
And I know it works because I've done it in my business and I saw explosive growth just from this one topic here. We're going to talk about it today.
I'm really excited.
But on a side note, how are you, Joel?
Dude, I'm real good. It's Friday. Legitimately Friday. None of that.
It's legitimate
Friday. Yeah, it's a real Friday, which is cool. It's really hot out.
Why is it cool that it's a Friday?
Well, I've just lived my whole life expecting the weekend. And to be fair, I do like the weekends.
Yeah.
I don't have a full calendar of conversations. There's just a different flow.
Yeah.
And the weekends are still a lot of work because I have to like go running and I got to like do family stuff and blah, blah, blah.
My weekdays and my weekends blend together.
Yeah.
So Friday doesn't really mean a whole lot to me.
It's still hard for me to like work outside of work hours.
Yeah.
Like it's a mental thing where it's hard for me to be like, I should do that because I could get that done and that would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, but it's not work time. It's hard. And I want to get over it because there's certain things that I'm like, well, if I get ahead on this, it'll be really helpful for next week because I don't have to worry about it. But it's just kind of hard to like make myself sit down on a Saturday and like flip open the laptop and get into the zone. It's just a switch.
I don't have that problem.
I know. and that's, that's good.
Well, it's good and bad.
True.
It's both.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start working noon to 7.
How come?
Because I want to I'm going to develop the world's most ridiculous morning routine and I'm going to do it 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And
like strenuous morning routine or like?
Yeah, like exercise, get my body, my mind, and get everything fit, ready, set for the day, food made, and then work. And then 7 after, do whatever I got to do to whatever, enjoy myself. And then I might work like noon to 6.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'll do. Noon to 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Have you like...
I got to go move it around on my calendar. The problem I'm having right now is I don't have time to get to... I have a lot of little things going on.
Yeah.
I don't have time to get to the big work that you need to set aside large chunks of time for.
Yep. The deep work.
And then because of that, because I'm not setting aside that deep work, I try to get it done early in the morning. And then, dude, I was just outside and I am hot. Like
You'll cool it down.
my core being is hot. I'm sweating right now as we speak. Are you?
Yeah, but I'm always sweaty.
Dude.
I'm just a sweaty guy.
You're just a sweaty guy.
I'm a sweaty guy.
I would hate that. I hate being sweaty.
Well, that's why I can be me.
Anyway, I neglect all of these things that I need to be doing.
Sure.
And I want to be, I need to get really stringent and set on exercising and being healthy and doing the things. Because I don't want to, I'm 39.
Working on 40.
Working on 40. I'm pretty much 40.
Pretty much.
I've pretty much been 40 for the last couple of years.
50.
Yeah, I feel like that. And so, but I don't want to get into 50 and be 10 years down the road and have not made these changes and be that much worse off when I get to 50. And if I don't want that, I need to do something about it now.
Yeah.
And I need to create the time to do the things that I know I need to do so that my future looks what I want it to look like.
Sure.
And there's a lot of room for improvement in a lot of areas. So I need to just buckle down and make those improvements.
Yeah.
And I think, and if I don't do them in the morning, they don't get done.
Sure.
But I love to work.
Yeah.
And so if I put off work till noon to 6, work will get done.
Yeah, sure, because you'll make it happen.
Because from the time I wake up until noon, that's all I'm going to be like thinking about.
Yeah, is I need to get through these first things so that I can go and get all this work done that I'm excited to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it'll work better for me. Yeah, I think it'll be cool.
Well, don't worry. We'll have this podcast so we can check in on you. Make sure that you're doing it.
Dude, I got my testosterone tested. We mentioned this earlier on a podcast, and it was super low. And It was like, I think my overall testosterone was 200.
Mm-hmm.
My free testosterone, which I understand as testosterone that you can actually use, was 2.
It's such a funny number. Like it could register 2.
It registered.
We found 2 free testosterones. We found both of them.
Yeah,
They're both
I don't know
not
how
very
they
useful.
I don't know what the measurement was. It was like NG over ML or something weird like that. And so
That checks out. Yeah.
And you know, it's funny. So I think the main thing that triggered me going and getting it tested is on one of our videos, somebody commented, what'd they say? Like, Jared needs to take a nap or something.
Oh, because he just looked tired.
Yeah. Tell him to take a nap. He keeps yawning or something.
Well, anyways, keep going.
Okay. Anyway, I was like, yeah, maybe I need to go get my hormones tested and stuff.
Yeah.
So I did. It was low. And as you know, I've been on testosterone. I just got it tested again. My overall testosterone went from 200 to like 1350, which is a big change.
That's a very big change.
And my free testosterone went from 2 to 457.
Yeah, they found a lot more than little free testosterones to count.
I don't know what happened. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, and I can't get a clear answer on what the normal range is.
Do you feel better? You feel got more health things going on?
I think if I were to start exercising at this point, I would start to feel a lot better.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I sleep better. I have a little more energy. Other than that, I feel pretty much the same.
Yeah, gotcha.
But you can hear it in my voice. It's starting to get deeper.
Oh, it's definitely. I was going to remark, but I just haven't yet.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, if you're getting up in your 39s, you might want to go get your hormones tested.
Oh, man, we have a visitor in this podcast. Finally, the...
Yeah. Dude, I got my DNA tested as well. Turns out I have a DNA marker that could mean I have low testosterone. Like I'm susceptible to low testosterone. So it was interesting to see that it actually was low in testosterone.
Yeah, we ordered those DNA tests so that my wife and I can take them.
Oh,
which
cool.
I think will be cool.
Yeah.
Once we get down there. Because I've been wanting to do blood work for a long time, but we just haven't made the time to do it.
So there's a lab called Any Lab Test Now. Typically, when you go see a doctor, they make you go to Quest Diagnostics.
Yeah.
The Quest Diagnostics here is absolutely miserable. You're there for like 4 hours
Oh, gosh.
to get your lab test, and it's dirty. It doesn't look like a place you want to get your blood tested from. Any Lab Test Now, you have to pay for it. Your insurance doesn't cover it, but you can walk in. Literally 15 minutes later, you got your blood work done, and you walk out.
Oh, wow.
So much better.
That sounds like the drive. What's the drive-through DMVs?
The DMV Express or
whatever those ones. Yeah, the privatized DMVs. Yeah, that's what that sounds like.
I haven't seen any of those here.
A UMV, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Or at least in Alaska. Yeah, I don't know if they have them here. We just have the tax guy who does it.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, it's weird that's like...
Florida's weird about that.
I was confused when I was trying to find the DMV, and I was like, it says tax collector, though.
Yeah.
I'm not paying any taxes right now.
Yeah.
But then that's the thing. I was confused because everybody was like, yeah, the tax collector.
Yeah. Okay, let's get on topic.
We
rambled enough. Sorry,
Bringing
guys.
it in. Yeah.
We just want to keep you updated.
Yeah, thanks for humoring us, guys, because, Jared and I don't talk a lot, so that's pretty much, what we get.
It's pretty much what we get. Okay, so I want to shift. This is a shift that I've made in my business that has had huge effects, and I want to shift everybody else's focus to it as well. And we'll go over how you can affect this thing that we're going to talk about. And we'll go into depth on things you can do and why this is such a good thing to focus on, okay?
Wait, before you continue, let me just guess what it is. Closing percentages.
Negative.
Oh.
Like, if I asked you a question, like, what's the most important metric you could look at?
In your business? The most important metric?
What's the most important KPI you could measure?
Let me think. Try to imagine how it actually...
It's the KPI of all KPIs.
Profit.
I mean, if you're going to go down that far, it would really be like cash in your bank. Probably
that's kind of what I was thinking.
Like, but I view that as the goal. And
okay, sure.
The number one thing you can focus on to get more cash in your bank is margin, gross margin on your product.
Gross margin?
Not margarine.
Oh, sorry.
That your mom eats.
Yeah.
Margin on your P&L. Okay. So if you could change one thing, like even just a little bit, it would be gross margin. Okay.
Okay.
So
real quick, do I have to have a P&L to know what my gross margin is?
If somebody is listening to this podcast and they have a business and they are billing customers anything over $1 more than once.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So if they're billing $1 twice, they need to go get a bookkeeper pronto.
Yeah, like an accountant, right?
No, a bookkeeper.
Yeah, like a CPA, right?
No, a bookkeeper.
Okay.
I would hire a bookkeeper. Number one, a bookkeeper is going to be cheaper. You're going to need a CPA eventually at the end of the year to do your taxes, but you don't need to be paying one to do your books. You can hire just a bookkeeper. She's not a CPA, not a certified public accountant, but she just keeps books, or he, whatever.
Sure.
If you're a dude bookkeeper, it's weird, but whatever.
Whoa, hey, easy.
To me, it's a woman's
Numbers
job,
are cool.
but whatever. I would want to go make more money.
Hey, maybe you can make really, really good money as a bookkeeper.
You could if you have your own bookkeeping business.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's you, you need to go hire a bookkeeper, and you need to get an updated P&L every single month, because your P&L, which is your profit and loss statement, it shows you how much. And I would look at it cash, not accrual. I'd look at cash.
Wait. What's accrual versus cash?
Cash and accrual. Cash shows you on a cash basis. Accrual shows you on an accrual basis. So accrual would be like, when you bill something and when you get paid are two different times.
Yep, I understand.
An accrual doesn't look at it on a cat. Like cash is like true, actual, this money went into my bank account.
Is accrual like almost like, hey, I billed for all this money, but it doesn't show me that what I've collected on?
Kind of.
Okay.
It's more confusing than that.
Okay, gotcha.
Just know cash.
Yeah.
Look at cash.
Okay, well, it's good to know because I didn't even know there was two different ways that you could go. Because in my mind, I would only want the cash one because I only want to see what actually happened.
What's the goal of your business?
To make money. Profitable.
Let's define cash.
Let's
define money as cash in your bank account.
Yeah, cash in my bank account.
Okay, so what's the best way to measure?
Cash in my bank account or the business's bank account?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
Business bank account.
Yeah, sure.
Cash being produced.
Okay.
Money being made, right? What's the best way to measure cash in your bank account?
By looking at it?
By looking at how much cash went into my bank account, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so that's what you're looking at. How much cash did I spend? What did I spend it on? And how much of that went in my bank account?
Gotcha.
You're just saying this much cash came in and you spent all this money on all this other stuff, and this is what you're left with.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
That's what your P&L tells you.
Yeah, and the goal is to have as much of that on the bottom line as possible.
As much as humanly possible.
Okay.
That's the goal of every single business.
Not to get more calls?
No. No, it's not. If you could have a $5 million business with 33% net margins at the end of the day, off of 100 calls, or you could have the same business off of 200 calls, which one would you take?
The one with less calls?
Yeah. Why do
extra stuff?
Why do twice
result?
the work for the same result?
Yeah.
When you can do half the work.
Sure. Yeah.
And get the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was thinking calls like not in the terms of booked jobs, but I think you were thinking in terms of booked jobs, which obviously I'd much rather do way less work for the same amount of money.
Well, more calls is going to turn into more booked jobs.
I know.
Naturally. But so the most important thing is cash in your bank account. And then aside from that, the one thing you can focus on that has the largest effect on how much cash goes in your bank account is gross margin.
Okay.
On your P&L, which you should be getting every month. If you're not, you need to go.
You should just pause the podcast and go get one of those.
Literally do that. Pause it. Go call a bookkeeper. Get QuickBooks, and start getting an updated P&L.
Should I just Google like bookkeepers near me or bookkeeper.com or?
So I would find they don't have to live in the same state. I would find a bookkeeper. If you're early on in your business, I would find one that would work with you by the hour. That way, they're typically fairly cheap.
Sure.
You can probably find one locally, and they'll bill you by the hour, and your books are not going to take very much time because you're not doing a whole lot. And it's going to cost you very little money, and you're going to get the most powerful information you can get for your business via your P&L. And you need to look at it, and you need to understand what it is. Most people look at it and they don't know what it is. Okay?
Yeah, true. Yeah, they get it. Or I'll hear this where it's like, oh yeah, I get one of those, but I never look at it.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, or I hear this too. Well, I just look at what QuickBooks tells me.
You get your P&L off QuickBooks.
But like without a bookkeeper.
Oh.
Where they just go and they just look at whatever QuickBooks can give them as far as like a P&L that's generated via QuickBooks.
You need a bookkeeper because she's going to go in and she's going to reconcile everything, which means she's going to look at cash in your bank account, invoices, credit card payments, and she's going to make sure it all matches.
Yeah.
So it's basically saying, I'm going to make sure this data is accurate.
Yeah.
So that when you get a P&L, you have an accurate look at what's going on. Because like I could give you a P&L for this month halfway through, but it's not accurate. It's going to do you zero good.
Yeah, sure.
I need to wait until my bookkeeper has all the information. She's gone through. She's reconciled everything. She's put everything in the right categories, and it's done and ready. And then I can look at it. Okay. The best way to get your P&L is in QuickBooks, you can export have dollar amounts and percentages. The percentages are super helpful. Everything has to add up to 100%.
Yeah.
And there's certain percentages that you should have minimums on and maximums on. Okay. So when you're looking at your P&L, at the very top, you have total revenue or total sales or gross income. They'll call it a bunch of different things, but it's basically how much cash came in your bank account over that time period. And typically I would look at last month, and then I would look at last 12 months trailing. Those are the two reports that I would pull once a month, and I would look over last month and see if anything stands out to me, and I would look over last month trailing and compare it to last month or last 12 month trailing.
Sure.
To see how I'm trending.
Yeah.
Okay? Very important. Just do that from now on. So you have total income, how much money you brought in. Let's say we brought in $1 million, okay? Underneath that, you have your COGS. COGS stands for cost of goods sold. Every business on this planet buys and resells stuff. Crap. Every single business, that's their core function. They buy something, they resell it to a customer. In the service industry, we buy and resell labor, materials, and subcontractors.
Gotcha.
Those are the three things we buy and resell. Okay. So we're buying skilled labor, we're buying subcontractors, and we're buying materials, and we're reselling that to the customer.
Sure. Yeah.
The stuff that you are buying and reselling are your COGS. Those are your cost of goods sold.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, let me just process that for a second. Because whenever we talk about these conversations, I'm always thinking in a wealthy plumber context.
Okay. This is, for everybody listening, this is extremely important information.
Yeah, say that line one more time about the COGS.
COGS are the things you buy and resell.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Because I think sometimes it's hard to figure out what a COG is, at least for me. I'll think because you could define anything not correctly, but I could be like, well, Jared, I need something to go in this coffee cup for it to be a coffee cup.
Just because you need it doesn't mean you buy and resell it.
Exactly. So I think that's
not a direct cost to the actual job.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's a really helpful because people would start tools COGS. Tools aren't COGS, right?
No.
Yeah. Tools. So people would be like, so tools, you need tools to do your job, don't you?
Yeah, you need tools, but you're going to use those tools. You're not buying and reselling those tools on every job.
Yeah.
It's part of your overhead.
Man, I like that distinction a lot.
Right. The labor you're buying specifically to go do a job, and you're selling labor.
Yeah.
The materials you're buying and you're selling them to the customer.
Yep.
The subcontractors you're buying and you're selling and reselling them to the customer. And so you're buying these items, right? That's what it costs you to do the work. And you have to mark them up enough to cover overhead and make profit. Okay?
You have to mark them up enough to cover overhead and make a profit.
Yep.
Okay.
It's like if I bought and resold coffee cups, if I bought this cup for $10 and my overhead was 30%, and this was, let's say this was 10% of the cost. The cost of this was 10% of what I'm going to sell it for. Okay. So I buy this for $10. I resell it for $100.
Mm-hmm.
My overhead is 30%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm left with net 60% at the end of the day. I net $60. My gross margin on this would be $90.
Gotcha.
Right?
Because we haven't talked about, because gross margin is no overhead or profit in there yet.
Correct.
Okay.
And it'll be called gross profit on your P&L.
Okay.
The difference between gross profit and gross margin is profit is a dollar amount, margin is a percentage. Okay? But I want people to think in percentages here.
Yeah, okay.
So you bring in 100% of your income, then you subtract out how much it costs you to provide that service to the customer.
Okay.
Your actual cost of goods sold. You subtract out the materials for that, for the work you've done over the past month. You subtract out the labor that you had to spend money on over the last month. You subtract out the subcontractors. You subtract out any taxes you paid for that labor. You subtract out any commission you paid to that labor, and you subtract out any benefits that you paid to that labor as well. Okay? All up there in your COGS. You may have to tell your bookkeeper to put that stuff in your COGS. Most bookkeepers don't know.
Yeah, they don't know your business.
They have no idea what your true COGS are.
Yeah, they probably have a standard way to just run businesses and maybe various businesses of certain generic types.
Most bookkeepers I've seen, they'll put materials in the COGS, but they don't put the technician labor up there.
Interesting.
And they need to.
Yeah.
Technician labor and all benefits for that technician and subcontractors and commission. That's what I would put in my COGS. Okay. So that's total income 100%. You minus your COGS. That leaves you with how much gross margin you made on the job. Okay.
Okay.
So if I sold coffee cups, because it's just super simple, the only thing I buy and resell is the cost of the cup. If I brought in $1 million and I spent $500,000 on coffee cups, okay, my gross margin is going to be $500,000 or 50%. Okay. Which means if this cup cost me $5, I'm reselling it for $10. I just sold enough of them to sell $1 million worth of revenue, and I hit 50% gross profit on every single coffee cup, which left me with 50% gross margin. Does that make sense? Okay. That gross margin number is the number to focus on.
Sure, because it seems like it's the number at like that trickles down to everything else. Like if you manipulate your gross margin, then everything else will then also be manipulated down the road.
Correct. Here's the thing. Most people, when they think of making more money with their service business, they think, I need more calls, I need to do more work, and I need to generate more revenue. Right? More calls, more work, more revenue. They're not necessarily wrong.
Sure.
But there's more ways to make money with your business outside of more calls, more revenue, more work. Or sorry, more calls, more work, more revenue. If revenue was the goal, then sure.
Yeah, sure.
But revenue is not the goal.
Yeah.
Like,
cool numbers at top line is...
Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
They're worthless.
Yeah.
So like if you had a business that was operating at 5% net margin, and let's say it's at 60%, let's say it's at 40% gross margin, okay, would you be better off trying to do 10% more business at 5% net and 40% gross? Or would you be better off getting your gross up to 45%?
I would say get your gross up to 45%.
Hands down.
Yeah, because otherwise you're not actually making any more money. Maybe the dollar amounts are getting higher, but you're not keeping any more percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise, the dollar amounts are gonna go up. Percentage-wise, you're gonna keep the same.
Yep.
Dollar amount, you're gonna keep more if you grow your revenue. But let's just walk through that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're making 100,000.
Okay.
Your gross margin is 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're left with 400,000. Your COGS ate up 60% of it.
Okay. Right. Mm-hmm.
So you got $400,000 and your net is 5%.
Mm-hmm.
So that means your overhead is 35%.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. So if you have a $100,000 business, 5% profit, you're making $5,000. If we increase that business 10%, do 10% more work, we do 110,000 at 5% net. What is that?
Dude, I don't know.
What's 5% at 10? It's $500. We make an extra $500 by increasing our revenue by 10%. Now, if you just did the same amount of work, $100,000 top line revenue, but you took your gross margin from 40%. Is that what I said? 40%?
Yes.
Yeah, 40% to 45%. $100,000, you move from 40 to 45. That 5% goes straight to the bottom line because your overhead didn't change. And you took your profit margins from 5 to 10%.
Yeah, sure.
Billing out the exact same amount of money. Now you're making $10,000. So rather than going from 5 to 55, you went from 5K to 10K.
Sure.
By focusing on gross margin.
Yeah, you didn't have to get any more work.
You didn't have to get any more work. You didn't have to add any more overhead. You just had to change gross margin.
So you just like made money.
You made money.
Like,
poof.
Yeah.
Correct. It's almost like that. Okay, let me ask you a question.
I'm ready.
Would you rather have a business? Would you rather? Which business? Dude, we got a cat in here.
I know. We got a bonus podcast member.
Bonus member.
Should we get her a microphone?
She's cuter than you.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
There's no probably.
I had
There's not even no competition.
Never mind. I got a joke, but I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, it's probably some dumb.
No, it's
your jokes are like worse than dad jokes.
My jokes
like
are
dad
first
jokes
off,
are dumb, and then there's your jokes.
My jokes are hilarious.
There's probably
and
a
this one
couple-
was about to be hilarious, but I'm not gonna say it.
There's probably
your dad would get mad at me.
You got to say it now. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna prep the audience here. There's dad jokes, and then there's like a few other levels below dad jokes, and then there's Joel jokes.
Hey, but you know who really appreciates those jokes?
Who?
Me.
Dude, my dad has better jokes than you. That's sad.
I mean, I'm happy for him.
Hey,
see,
kitty
look at
cat.
that. There's a cat.
How are you?
So you know what my joke was? We'll just shoot it out there. So this is gonna be my joke because you said that the cat's cuter than me, and I'd say,
dude,
put each of us on a street corner and we'll see who makes more money.
If you're listening to this podcast, who's cuter, the cat or Joel?
Come on, guys, you gotta help me out. I mean, the cat's pretty cute.
The cat's way cuter.
What if I put my hat like this? Is that better?
Yeah, way better.
Okay, I'm gonna change it though.
You look like a gangsta.
Oh,
I didn't even listen to your joke.
So my joke was, okay, put me and the cat in the street corner and see who makes more money.
Dude, the cat, hands down. If you put a sign by the cat, a sign by you.
$50.
$5 kisses. The cat's gonna win.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, I promise.
Oh man.
I don't even like cats, and I like that stupid cat.
I know. That's funny.
It is
That's how you
funny.
know you like the cat because you call it stupid.
Yeah. Well, so if I call you stupid, that's how you know I like it.
That's how you know.
Okay. Would you rather have a $5 million business at 20% net profit or a $3 million business at 33% net profit?
3 million business. There's a cat.
Why?
Because you keep more cash at the end of the day.
You actually don't.
Do you not?
No.
Like number wise or
Number wise, it's the exact. This.
Sure. Yeah.
I tricked you. It's the exact same amount of money in your bank account.
Yeah, sure.
The cash at the end of the day in your bank account is the exact same amount of money.
Yeah.
It's identical. Which one would you rather have?
Oh, but the simpler one, the one that it seems easier to me to have a $3 million business than a $5 million business.
Heck yeah, you bet your ass it is.
Yeah.
That's $2 million less revenue you have to produce.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe break that down for us really quick.
That's like
the raw difference between a $3 million business and a $5 million business when it comes to like maybe things you have to worry about, the systems you have to have involved, and maybe the number of technicians.
Dude, you could probably do $3 million with like 4 guys.
Sure.
Think about
And would you
you could
business
probably
owner be out
have-
of the field?
yeah, you could probably have one CSR,
Mm-hmm.
you the owner, and 4 guys out in the field, and have a $3 million business at 30% ish net profits. Totally doable.
Yeah.
I would much rather that than a $5 million business at 20% net.
Yeah, because what at $5 million at 20%, what are you looking for as far as technicians and office staff?
So that's close to where we are. It's 8 technicians.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 8 technicians, 2 CSRs. I've got a GM in place.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, when you add more people, you're just going to introduce more headache naturally. And so you've doubled your technicians amount, you've doubled your CSR, and you've added a general manager.
Yeah, think about it in percentages. It's 40% less work
Nice.
to run a $3 million business.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot less work.
40% less chance of stuff going wrong, 40% less headaches, 40% less stress, 40% less of everything across the board. Now, if I could have a $5 million business at 33% versus a $3 million, I'll take the $5 million
Sure. Right.
any day of the week.
Sure.
Because then you make more money.
Right.
Because what's the goal?
Making money.
Cash in your bank account.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I think we've hit home like revenue. It doesn't really mean a whole lot. Okay. Good. I've talked to business owners doing 30 million, 20 million, and they're calling me the guy doing 5 million because they're not making any money.
Sure.
They're literally losing their butts.
Right.
They're either losing money or profit margins are 5%,
Sure.
3%, 2%. Like ridiculous. Here's what's weird about most of those guys. They're unwilling to change what they're doing.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's a thing around like, hey, I'm doing 20 million. There's a little bit of a sense of pride there.
Yeah, sure.
Which I get. It sounds cool. You're doing 20 million. Holy cow, you must be making a ton of money.
Yeah. You must be making $1 million yourself in your salary, right?
I mean, you must be bringing home, I would think, at least $4 million minimum. But most of these guys aren't. They're bringing home 500,000, 300,000. And they got this giant business with all this stuff going on for no reason, and they're scared to change it. They don't want to see those revenue numbers drop.
Yeah, so like, and why would the revenue numbers drop? Like if we just run out this hypothetical business situation.
They need to go back and cut the fat and get more efficient.
Sure.
And even if you lost half your revenue, let's say you're at 20 million and you're doing 5% net. What does that math out to?
I don't know.
Joel, come on.
500,000 or something?
Dude, why does this cat want to be on our table so bad?
Because she can't get out.
She's
It's okay.
stuck.
She can just be on the podcast today.
She is on the podcast.
Guest appearance. Our first guest.
We did it.
Dang.
So 20 million.
We did it.
20 million. 5% net. What's 5% of 10 million? What's 5% of $1 million?
5% of $1 million. 5,000? 50,000?
I'm pretty sure it's 50,000. So what's 50,000 times 20?
Dude, you're asking the wrong guy, man.
Oh, okay, let's do 10.
Okay. 50,000 times 10, 500,000.
Okay, they're making $1 million bucks. 20 million at 10 at 5% profit, they're making $1 million bucks. Okay.
Yeah.
So if they drop down to 10 million and they can get their profits up to 20%, how much money are they making?
They're making 2 million.
They're making 2 million.
Yeah.
So who cares about
who cares?
Who cares if you're doing 10 or 20?
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like,
But they're so focused on top line revenue, they're worried about those. They're worried about that top line revenue dropping. And they're not focused enough on how much money they're bringing out. And they're looking at their gross margin and it's piss poor. And that's not the number they're focusing on. They're focusing on driving more revenue, more revenue, more revenue. What they need to focus on is driving more margin.
Yeah, I feel like that in there's like, because you need all that revenue to like keep their guys on staff, right? Like they need all that revenue, all that work to keep everybody busy who they've hired. They probably care for these people. They're probably paying these people. So I think it's a hard calculation to go like, okay, well, if doing this means we have to get rid of these people,
Yep.
then that pushes against why I'm in business. Like, I feel like it can be a lot of those conversations.
Yep. Yeah. Probably has a lot to do with the lack of understanding of why you're really in business.
I would say so too.
Yes, I agree. Okay. So let's talk about how we increase gross margin. How many ways do you think there is that we can increase gross margin? Don't look at my notes.
I can't read, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You know a lot of big words, but you can't read.
I know. I'm a real good hearer. See, it's a good joke, right?
Dude, if people heard our conversations outside of this podcast, they probably would stop listening to the podcast.
I don't think they're a lot different than the ones on the podcast.
They'd be like, these guys, holy cow.
How
How many ways?
How many ways? I'll just guess. Let's say I have no idea. 3, 4?
2. It's 2 ways. There's only 2 ways.
That's easy. That's
Very
relatively
easy,
simple.
okay? You can increase price
Sure.
or you can cut costs.
Okay, gotcha.
Because the only 2 things above gross margin are what?
Your revenue
Revenue
and then all your COGS,
and all your COGS.
which is just the reselling of.
So if you want to bring in more revenue, increase price.
Sure.
If you want to cut COGS, cut COGS.
Yeah.
Okay. I think she just likes you, man. So increasing price is easy, right? We talk about that a lot on this podcast. Like most people are too cheap. I used to say if you're under 400 an hour, you're too cheap. I don't feel that way anymore because I think you can do it at like 280, 300 an hour. But you have to mark up your materials enough
Yeah.
to offset the lack of income from a higher hourly rate.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. I mean, we did the podcast on that, which that's the margin
did.
pricing
We did.
podcast.
Yep. If you want to know more about that, go watch the margin pricing podcast. It's good.
Yeah. Especially if you're one of those guys who's uncomfortable at being like, well, I can't be more than $450 per hour or
Right.
whatever. Go check out that podcast
Yeah.
and
Yep.
wrap your mind around that sucker. But this ties into that because we're talking about sort of the same maybe foundational structure that allows that pricing strategy to work. Right?
Correct. You got to have the whole shebangarang.
Yes.
So let's just run through an example so we can see how raising price affects gross margin, which affects net margin.
Okay.
Okay. I have it worked out here so we don't have to do the math.
Oh, thank God.
It's already done. We don't have to rely on your terrible math skills.
Yeah.
You can throw in some big words if you want.
Yeah. Exemplary.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if we sell a product that costs $20 to produce for $40, so we sell it for $40, costs us $20, the COGS are $20, okay? That's a 50% gross profit. Okay, total revenue minus COGS equals gross profit. Percentages, it'd be gross margin, we can call it. If we increase the price from $40 to $60, our gross margin goes from, because the cost of the product stays the same, we just increase price, our gross margin goes from 50% to 66.66%. Okay. Gross margin.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Now, if you just assume at a $40 sales price, we were operating at a 10% net margin, okay? Net profit. After we subtract out overhead, we're left with 10%, okay? At a sales price of 60, that additional 16.66 goes straight to the bottom line net.
Yeah, because you didn't have to acquire any new overhead to
We didn't have to
achieve
acquire
that
any new
gross
overhead.
margin.
The cost of the fulfillment didn't go up. We just increased price.
Yeah.
So we go from a 10% net to a 26.66% net. Okay. With a 16% increase in gross margin. Okay. Small increase in gross margin, huge increase in net profit. Okay. 10% to 26.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's a 266% increase.
That's a real big increase. I'll take that increase all day.
That's a 266% increase It's actually 166% increase. Money in the bank, okay? Just by increasing the gross margin 16%.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about that. If you were doing $100,000 in profit, now all of a sudden your business is doing $260,000 in profit. Okay?
Yeah.
Assuming you made the exact same amount of sales,
Sure.
all you did was increase price. That's powerful. That's what most people are sitting on in their business. That's what's crazy. Literally the easiest change on the planet. Increase price, raise gross margin, keep your overhead the same, make way more money. That's where most home service businesses sit. They're undercharging.
Yeah, but Jared, if I don't have good leads, it doesn't matter because I can't increase my price.
No, everybody gets the same leads.
Nuh-uh, my leads suck.
Your leads suck because your business looks like it sucks on the internet. That's why. So people looking for a sucky business, call your business. People looking for a good business, call the good looking business. It sounds silly, but it's true.
Is it really that simple?
It's that simple. People judge a book by its cover, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I guess
that's what they do.
I mean,
if you've got no Facebook posts, no interaction, your logo looks like crap, no photos of people that actually work in your business that look halfway friendly, you're going to get crappy customers. It's as easy as let's design a logo that looks good, get some colors that look decent, get some people in uniforms, take some pictures of them smiling, and look like a real professional company. And then people who want a real professional company and are willing to pay the price for it will call you. It's that freaking easy. If I start another company, I'm not going to go build some junky website with a junky logo, with junky van wraps, and not have any pictures of any real human being anywhere. That would be dumb.
Right, sure.
Because I would spend a lot of money on marketing and get no good customers.
Right.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a nice logo designed. I'm going to get a nice truck wrap designed. I'm going to get nice hats made and nice polos made. And I'm going to get people in the polos in front of my vans. We're going to take pictures. Everybody's going to be smiling. I'm going to recruit Joel to be in it, even though he doesn't work for me.
And we're going to stand like this.
Yeah. And we're going to look like a nice, legit plumbing company. Professionals. And people who want that are going to call us.
Yeah. Well, and I would say just as important, the people who don't want that won't call you.
There's customers out there that look for unwrapped vans. They look for the one truck chucks because they know you're going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
So you don't want to look like that.
I mean, it's the same sort of like psychology that happens. Like if you drive by a really crappy looking grocery store, and you're the type of person who wants to buy good groceries, good food or whatever, you're probably not going to go into that grocery store.
No.
Even if they had the best food in the world inside.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't know that because you drive by and be like, that looks like garbage. I'm going to go to this other store down the road.
Yeah.
No matter what was actually happening inside that store.
Exactly.
Like the same thing.
You're judging it by the cover. Hands down. People are doing that to you too, so make your cover look good. Professional. Super easy. Like before I ever launch a plumbing business, I'm going to make social media posts. I'm going to have those made and a history of social media going on. Because when a customer is looking for a plumber, they're going to Google, they're typing in plumber, they're looking at the reviews, they're looking at your website, they're looking at your Facebook page, and they're making a judgment on you based on what you look like in those few spots.
Yeah, true.
If they didn't, they would be dumb. That would be advisable to go find the one that looks like the company that you most want.
Yeah.
Because then you're most likely to get what you want.
Yeah.
Anybody to do the opposite would be stupid.
Yeah. And
if I came to you and was like, Joel, I really want a professional company, and so I went on the internet and I didn't look at any of the reviews and I didn't look at their website and I didn't look at their pictures and I didn't listen about anything about the company, I just called this random one, you'd be like, dude, you're an idiot.
I'd be like, how's that working out for you?
Well, they came to my house and they really sucked. You'd be like, no dip, Sherlock.
Yeah, you didn't really do any of your due diligence.
You didn't vet the company whatsoever. It's like, no wonder.
Yeah.
So if you're getting crappy leads, that's probably why. I almost guarantee it. Now, just because you look like a professional doesn't mean you're not going to get some people that call you that expect you to be
Sure.
pennies on the dollar.
Sure, of course.
That happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
But most people are going to be buyers
Sure.
because you're going to look like the company they want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you assume they're buyers and don't assume
Yeah.
that they're not,
and also
you're going to sell more stuff.
and there's like different layers to this too, because it's like the same people that I talk to who are like, well, I can't raise price because, you know, I have crappy leads. They're also the same people who are going like, well, I only make money on the large jobs. So I usually don't even go out to these smaller jobs because I don't make money on those. And I'm really waiting for the water heaters or whatever.
Because they're too cheap.
Because they're too cheap. Exactly.
You got to price yourself to make money on all the jobs.
Yes.
All of them.
Yes.
You don't go to a house without making money.
Yeah. And then occasionally, you know, you'll get that bigger job, but cool. Then you make more money on the big job.
Yeah, you make even more money.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. There is no like plumbing business. I mean, I would never advise anybody to be like, yeah, man, just go for the big jobs that everybody wants because it's totally going to work out for you.
I can't tell you how many people have said, well, I'm just going to do water heaters. I'm just going to be a water heater company because that's where all the money's at. Mm-hmm. And it's like, cool. You and every other person on this planet wants to just do water heaters.
Yeah.
And you're going to be competing against the term water heater
Yep.
with everybody else on the planet.
Yep.
Where you could compete on terms, you know, search terms that are way cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Go serve that customer, be priced right,
Mm-hmm.
make some money off the service, sell them a membership,
Mm-hmm.
and then when their water heater goes out, they're going to call you for the water heater, and you didn't have to pay for the lead.
Yeah.
That's a way better way to go.
Yeah. There's something like you can niche too far down, or maybe it's not even too far down. Maybe it's just you can niche poorly.
Yeah.
Like you can just choose a bad thing to niche to.
Yeah.
Like we all understand that niching down is like viable, right? Yep. But like if you're just niching to a thing that actually isn't viable, it's not viable.
There's a company in Fairbanks that just does water softeners. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's another company that does water softeners and hot tubs and solar, and they're way more successful. But excuse me, I shouldn't drink sparkling water on a podcast. Bad idea.
Man, wow.
There's
cats and bubbly water.
Dude,
whew, it's losing our touch.
It's a crap show up in here.
Yeah. I blame the guest.
Oh, totally.
She can't be on again.
No, never again. We should shave her.
Yeah. On the podcast? YouTube would probably
stick around, guys.
Yeah, YouTube, it's about to get good. Yeah. You thought we digressed early on? Wait till the end of this one. Clippers are coming out.
Oh man.
We should shave your beard and put it on the cat.
My GM has a hairless cat. Dude, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
It's like a statue too. It just sits so still that it looks like a fake cat.
On Lord of the Rings, who's the
Gollum?
Gollum. That's what that cat looks like.
Yeah, kind of.
It's disgusting. It's so gross.
I know. It's a weird thing, man.
He loves it.
He does.
It's funny.
It is funny.
Okay. I don't remember where we're going before that, but don't do water heaters.
In Fairbanks, there's a water softener company.
Dude, water softener company. It's dumb. We're such a small market, and all you're selling is water softeners.
And I understand the thinking,
and you're
because
competing against all the plumbing companies wanting to put in water softeners too.
Yeah, but you don't offer the other things. So
you offer nothing else except for just water softeners, and they probably do okay. Like they probably make a couple $100,000 a year. But to me, it's like why waste your time and energy on that business? Like go get in one that has more potential.
Yeah, because you really are just limiting your potential.
You're going to put your work into something, put it into something that has potential, more upside. That's my thought. Okay. So we totally understand how we can increase price that affects gross margin. A small increase in gross margin can have a huge effect on our net at the end of the day. Okay. That's literally the easiest one you can do. And that's literally the one that most people listening to this podcast are sitting on.
Right.
So if you haven't increased prices, if you're under $300 and you're not marking up your materials at least 300%, you're missing out.
300%.
That's what we're doing now. On service work. So service work, we're shooting for 77% margins on our labor. And we're shooting for 75% on our materials.
Gotcha.
And it puts us at 430 for our labor. And the materials are marked up 300%. Yeah, it's a 75% margin. So if we buy something for $50, we sell it for $200. So labor got cheaper, but mark up materials more, which has a weird effect. Has an amazing effect. It's crazy. Okay.
Wouldn't you get the people who are like, the customers who are like, hey, I looked on Home Depot and that part's $22.
Yeah, but it's flat rate. So we don't tell them, here's the labor, here's the materials.
Sure,
we
of
say, here's the cost to do the job.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
And they don't know the breakdown.
They have no idea. And if they ask, we don't tell them.
Yeah.
Because they would freak out.
Yeah.
And then go leave us a 1-star review. So.
And then not do anything.
I'm just going to say, I don't know that information. I'm not telling you that. And then if they want to go leave a 1-star review, cool. Don't care. Dude, that's another thing. People get so worried about 1-star reviews.
Yep.
And
especially when it comes to delegation, like what if I hire a guy and he gets me a 1-star review? I'm never going to hire again.
Yeah. And I was having this conversation with my GM. It's like, if the real goal of the business is to put profit dollars in the bank account, right? Cash in the bank account, then we shouldn't really care about anything else unless it affects putting cash in the bank account. So you have to care about that over having happy customers.
Right.
Because if you could have pissed off customers and still put cash in the bank account, then who cares if they're pissed off, right? If the goal is cash in the bank account. Now, obviously, there's like ethics and morals that come into that.
Sure, of course.
Aside from all that stuff, really, we shouldn't be worrying about so much about that 1-star review and making every single customer happy, because that's not the goal. The goal is not, let's make every customer happy. The goal isn't the customer is always right. The goal is money in the bank account. And I think a lot of times people worry way too much about their reviews. You don't need a 5-star rating to put cash in the bank account.
Sure.
You can put a lot of cash in your bank account with a 4.7. I know, because we do it.
What if you had like a 3.1?
That might affect your cash in the bank account.
Sure, then that might be a limiting factor. Like you might be not taking care of the customer enough.
Right.
Because you still got to take care of the customer.
You do, only to the extent that you're putting enough cash in your bank account.
Gotcha.
It's really all that matters, right? So, and honestly, I think customers, if they were to go look at a plumbing company and they had 1,000 reviews and they were all 5 stars, they probably wouldn't believe it anyways.
Yeah, it'd be like, well, okay, somebody's cheating here.
There's no way.
Yeah, there's no way that everybody was happy.
Yeah, if you've got 1,000 reviews and it's a 4.7 or a 4.8, they're like, oh, this. I mean, out of 1,000 times they've maintained 4.7 and 4.8. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and then they can go see your 1 stars and see your 5 stars and go, oh yeah, both of those are there. And
you start dropping to a 3.5, and they're like, the chances of me getting good service from this company are looking relatively low.
Yes.
I'll probably find somebody where the chances are higher. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like when I look at like restaurants or anything, if it's like if it's high 4s, I'm fine with it. If it's in the 3s, I'm like, we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking for something better than this.
To run across a restaurant that doesn't have, or that has over a 4.5 is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Yet plumbers are so worried about going from a 5-star to a 4.9. Oh my gosh. It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
We got to do better. And you make a big deal out of it, even though it's not going to help anything. So quit focusing on it. Focus on your margin. Okay. Now let's talk about cutting costs, because to me, this is where this gets interesting. Okay. And we're just going to run through a scenario again so we can see how cutting costs affects gross margin, which affects net. And then we're going to talk about how to cut costs, because all it is materials and labor. So how do we cut those costs?
Sure.
Right? Do we pay our guys less? That sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah.
Can we buy our materials for less? Maybe sometimes.
I can buy them in a different state, truck them to my warehouse. Oh yeah, now we're cooking.
I'm going to increase overhead by $1 million to do it.
No. My buddy's got a truck. He owes me a favor.
Yeah, there you go.
He's already doing the route.
Oh my gosh.
He's got to throw on a couple boxes of fittings and we're off to the races.
People come up with some crazy stuff, dude, to try to cut costs to save money. It's wild.
Yep.
Okay. Most people, when they think about cutting costs, where do they think about cutting it from?
I don't know, labor price?
Like how many, well, yeah, they do, but how many owners have you talked to and they're like, I'm going to go get a used van.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm going to hire this cheaper marketing company. I'm going to do this cheap. It's overhead. Always trying to cut costs out of overhead.
Yep.
I've rarely seen a business owner that doesn't have, like, they can't produce enough revenue because they're not willing to put in the amount of overhead. I see that all the time. And then I see owners who inflate their overhead.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I see somebody with normal overhead.
Yeah.
It's strange to me. Our overhead is 24% at my company. Just looked at, it was 24.1 this last month. That's what I looked at. On average, last 12 months, 24.1. People worry about saving money on vans. I've got all new vans, payments. It's the best way to go.
Yeah.
You look legit. You got a van that doesn't break down as often. Your guys appreciate it. It's not a ton of cash coming out of my bank account at once because I went and spent 20 grand on a used van.
Right.
Instead, I went and got $50,000 loan and I just pay a payment over the life of the van. To me, it's the way to go. Okay. So let's talk about cutting costs out of your COGS.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we sell a product that costs us $20 to produce for $40, again, that's a 50% gross margin. Okay. Sold it for 40, cost us 20. We got $20 left over. It's 50% of 40. Okay.
Got it.
But if we cut the cost to produce that product to $15, so we go from $20 cost to $15 cost, all of a sudden we go to a $25 gross profit or a 62.5% gross margin. Okay. I lost my spot in here. Dude.
You need bigger text.
It's so huge.
It's got to be bigger than that.
I don't even know where I'm at.
You should have done it like this. Then it could have been bigger.
No, I need smaller text. Okay. So we cut cost to production down to $15. We add 12.5%. We go from 10% net to 22.5% net. We increased 125% more cash in our bank account by increasing margin 12.5%.
Right.
We 125% are net.
Right.
If overhead stays the same.
Right.
Right. Just by cutting the cost a little bit. Okay. So if your business is pulling 500K at 10%, if you go to 22.5%, you're making 1.225 million.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Huge.
A huge difference.
Huge.
It's like a life-changing difference.
By changing margin 12%, you add $725,000 to your bottom line. It's a huge thing that you can affect. Okay. Now imagine that at a larger scale.
Sure, of course.
What if your business was doing $1 million at 10%?
Oh, sure.
And you could go to 22.5%. You'd be at, what is that? 2,225,000. You would have added 1.25 million to your business.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. How do you do that though? Like is it just getting like cheaper materials or what?
We're going to go over that. Okay. So we established cutting costs is highly effective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
It's an effective way to pull more money out of your bank account. There's 1,000,001 ways to do that. We're going to go over 5.
Oh, dang. I was hoping you were going to say 1,000,001.
We're going to go over 1,000,002.
Oh, yes. I love bonus.
No, we're going to go over 5. And we're an hour in already. Holy smokes, dude.
Yeah, we have 1,000,002 things to go over.
Yeah, you got to quit saying all them dumb jokes.
Sorry, I just can't help myself. I have a gift. I'm special.
Okay, 1,000,001 ways. Number 1, performance pay.
I mean, but isn't that going to increase your price?
Okay, but think about cost of production. Okay. For us, we're buying and reselling labor. If that labor does $100,000 in revenue, but the cost of the labor stays the same, that gap is small. If that labor does $1 million in revenue, but costs the same or goes up slightly, the gap gets bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I understand.
So essentially, what you're trying to do is for the amount of revenue that your employee brings in, their cost goes down.
Yeah. Gotcha.
You may pay them more, but their percentage, their labor as a percentage of how much revenue they brought in went down.
Yeah. Gotcha. Because every employee then is making more money, but they're not taking in like a ton more money to keep that gap skinny as it goes up.
Okay. So performance-based. So putting a like solid commission structure with no cap on how much your employees can make will incentivize your guys to produce more revenue. Okay. And if you structure that commission structure properly, as they make more money, you will make more money as well.
Yeah. And essentially you'll have a gap so that.
And the gap will get bigger the more money they produce, lowering that percentage of how much your labor is costing you.
Yeah. So that's how it's, because it seems like you're charging. Well, you're not charging more.
You're not charging anymore. Your employees are just getting more efficient.
Yeah.
That's all
gotcha.
it is.
Yeah.
That's all that's happening.
It's kind of funny because it's like
they're selling more of their time.
Yeah. Yeah. So becoming more efficient is actually, at least in this example, it's like becoming more efficient is actually decreasing cost.
Yeah. The cost of your labor will go down.
Yeah.
Because your employees are incentivized to sell more of their time.
Sure. They're doing more with the opportunities that they're getting.
They see a financial benefit.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why I don't like just straight up commission.
Sure.
If you give straight up commission,
then it probably travels like this. Yeah.
it stays, your labor cost stays identical.
Yeah. As a percentage, right?
Yep. Doesn't matter how much revenue they're producing. It's always identical.
Yeah, sure.
Now, so what we do is we have a minimum revenue that they have to produce. If they don't produce that revenue, they don't work there. If they produce more than that revenue, then we give them a cut of the revenue over the revenue floor, the threshold, right? You have to make sure that's legal where you're at.
Is it not legal somewhere?
Some places, like guys in Florida, they don't call it commission, they call it a bonus.
But it works the same way?
Yeah. If you call it commission, and this is where like the only time I would ever hire an HR person is to make sure the way I'm paying my payroll is legal.
Yeah.
If you call it commission in Florida, then you have to pay them for overtime.
Okay.
So if it was 20% commission, you'd have to pay them 30% on all the overtime hours. So you take total commission, split it up by how many hours they worked, and then you'd have to pay that extra in extra labor.
Gotcha.
Which would ruin your
it would ruin your
labor
calculations.
costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to factor that into your labor costs somewhere, and then
Yes. So the goal, right, is to keep, for plumbing companies, plumbing and HVAC companies, and electrical companies, most home service companies, you want to keep your labor costs below 25%. So when you want to keep like direct pay costs below 20%, that extra 5% is going to get eaten up in benefits. Okay.
Yeah. So if somebody, and this was a comment in our coaching program where some guy was like, "Hey, I had a technician approach me and says he wanted 30% commission."
Yeah, absolutely not.
That is literally 10% higher than what you should tolerate for your labor disbursement.
Yep.
So you'll know right off the bat, like, yeah, that's too much. I can't pay that. Nobody can pay that.
I mean, some people will try, but no, I'm not going to do that. I wouldn't do that. I'd get somebody else. So the beauty is if you structure your commission in a way where it has a revenue minimum and they get a certain cut on anything over the minimum, then if you structure it properly, you need to map it out on a spreadsheet, their percentage of their pay versus, their percentage of their pay versus how much revenue they bring in will start to go down the more revenue they produce.
Yeah, you'll see it start to go like this as it goes up, right?
Yes. So they make more money. They can make really good money on this system.
They can make like infinity money on this.
They can make infinity money.
Is that how you pitch? You want to make infinity money?
That's what I told my guys. I said there is no cap on how much money you can make at this company. You can make $200,000 and $300,000.
The sideways 8 pay plan.
Yeah. Is that what you call it?
Sure.
Okay.
Because infinity's a sideways.
If
8.
you structure this wrong, here's the thing. Structure this wrong. and it can throw your labor rates through the roof.
Yeah. So will it go like this and then it'll just like flip it and
Yep.
then suddenly you're running out of money? Like
Yeah.
your bottom line is you're losing money on the bottom line?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can. You can get all your net profit if you structure your commission wrong. It'll just disappear.
Dude. I feel like in the plumbing business, there's a couple things that can really do that. Like
There's
screwing
a
up your
lot.
commission. Yeah, actually, there's probably a lot of things that
Yeah.
can just like
not
rob you of
marking
net.
up your materials.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah, or like not triaging your schedule.
Not being priced high enough, not triaging your schedule, setting up bad commission structures.
Mm-hmm.
So like mine, our revenue floor is 10,000. Anything over that, they get 10% commission.
Mm-hmm.
And if you map that on a spreadsheet, at 10,000, it's 20%.
Mm.
At 11,000, it goes to 19.2%, and then slowly creeps down. When they produce 20,000 of revenue, it drops to like 14%.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're getting more efficient. The employee's more efficient. The business is more efficient. Everybody makes more money. Okay, it's a win-win-win.
Everybody's pointing towards the bullseye.
Everybody's accomplishing the same thing. It's a beautiful thing.
That is a beautiful thing.
If I raise that commission to 18%, all of a sudden it goes from at like 13,000, it's 20. Then it goes to like 20.5 and then 21 and then 22. And it climbs as the technician makes more revenue. And I'll get all the way up to 30% that I'm paying this guy.
Oh, wow.
If he's a rock star.
Yeah.
Which would ruin
Yeah, sure.
how much I'm paying him. It would ruin my labor costs. My labor costs would be too high. And for the amount of money that I'm billing out, they would take too much money and it would suck it up from my net profits. Has to suck it from somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
It's going to suck it from the bottom line. It just sucks it right up there into the cogs. And you'll see your gross margin decrease. And then you won't have enough. You'll have overhead come out and your net profits will be smaller, which is not what you want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's when we're talking about payroll as well. If you pay spiffs, it's going to ruin your gross margin as well.
Would you like what do you mean, like spiffs on top of what you're talking about, or just spiffs in general?
So a lot of companies will be like, yeah, we're going to pay you this much on the check plus this much commission plus you get spiffs.
Yeah, when you do a special good job.
When you sell a membership, you get this much money. When you sell this product, you get this much money. When you sell this product, you get this much money.
Essentially complicating the incentive process.
Yes, it does. It does three things. It'll ruin your labor costs. Your labor costs are going to be too high.
You're going to go over that 20%.
It's going to incentivize your employees to do the wrong things because now they're just trying to get spiffs.
Yeah, sure.
They're not trying to do the things that you actually need them to do.
Yeah.
Right? There's two things we need all of our employees to do. Any idea what they are?
Tell really good jokes and be able to do handstands.
Yes. How did you know?
Dude, because I'm freaking awesome.
Every single one of your employees needs to drive revenue and drive customer satisfaction. Those are their two jobs. That's it. That's all you need them to care about.
Yeah.
Now, your manager, your CSR, and your technicians all are trying to accomplish the same thing.
Yep, sure.
They just go about it in different ways.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's your job to define how they do that and incentivize them to do those two things and nothing else.
Yeah.
When you incentivize them to get a spiff, what ends up happening is you take their attention away from driving revenue and customer satisfaction.
Yeah, to go grab that spiff over there.
And you take their attention on getting a spiff. And so what you want ends up not happening.
Sure.
Okay. And then your labor costs go up because you're paying out ass tons of money in spiffs.
Yeah.
And then when you mess up on those spiffs, because they're incredibly difficult to calculate.
Dude, especially if you have like a lot of spiffs.
Yep.
Like there's probably companies out there that spiff a lot of weird, like random things.
You got like a full-time person in your business just trying to figure out spiffs.
Oh gosh.
There goes your overhead.
Yeah, like a spiff boy.
And then they mess up on the spiffs and all your technicians lose trust in the company and it ruins your company culture.
Yeah.
I've watched this happen in my own business and it's a terrible idea. So don't do it. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So don't pay spiffs. Okay. So number one, performance pay. It's going to increase revenue and lower labor costs. It's one of the best things you can do. It needs to not have a ceiling on it though.
Yeah.
Hands down. No ceiling.
I like that.
Okay. That way you're...
You can't sit on
your employees can make as much revenue as possible. Okay. This one's going to be counterintuitive. Number 2. And you would have never caught me saying this on this podcast until maybe 6 months ago.
Oh, man.
Maybe 3 months ago. This is the first time I've ever probably said it on this podcast.
Oh, dang.
These 2 words together. Number 2, you can lower prices.
Whoa.
Which sounds strange, doesn't it?
Yeah, Jared, this pretty much goes against everything that you've ever said in your life.
It does. But we've actually done this, and we did it in a way where we didn't technically lower prices, but we moved money around in our business so that some things got cheaper and some things got more expensive.
Sure.
And by lowering prices on some items that are hard to convert at higher prices, we increased our conversion rates, which actually brought in more revenue.
Yeah.
Okay, so we essentially cut the cost of our labor because our labor is being more efficient.
Yep.
And brought in more revenue. Okay.
I'm with you. No, it makes sense.
It does.
Like if you can't sell the thing at $10,000, but then when you dropped it to $8,000, you ended up selling like 5 of them more than you would have sold before.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, well now you're making more money.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's not to be used as an excuse like, wow, good, now I don't have to be expensive.
Yeah.
Because that's not what we're saying. It has nothing to do with it.
Correct. So, and you guys can go watch the margin pricing video if you want to learn more about that.
And maybe even the one before this, because I think we might have talked about that a little bit as well.
Maybe. Essentially what we did, and here's an example. So we used to price ourselves at $600 an hour, $610, and 120% markup on materials.
Yeah.
And so something like a P-trap, which we charge an hour for, we drive to their house, give them a bid, change their P-trap, say goodbye, do all our stuff, would be $610 plus, I don't know, $12 for the P-trap. So it'd be $622. Those jobs were hard to convert.
Sure.
Okay. Versus on the other hand, we would have a job that had like 5 hours and $500 in materials, and it'd be like $1,300. That was easy to convert. And so what we did is we lowered our labor rate and we raised our material markup rate.
Sure. Yeah.
So now our labor rate is $430, but we mark materials up 300%.
Yeah.
So we're trying to hit margins on both. When we go to do a P-trap, it's now only $430 plus $40 for the P-trap. So it's $480. Easier to convert than a $610 P-trap.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the bigger job, it went up in price, but it went from like $1,300 to $1,450. Not much harder to convert.
No.
So we didn't see conversion rates go down on these, but we saw conversion rates go up on the smaller items like the P-traps.
Yeah.
Increased conversion rates, brought in more revenue.
Yeah.
With the same labor cost, which essentially drove down our labor percentage and made us more efficient.
Yeah, it just occurred to me because you were talking about your average ticket went from like 2,700 to like 2,300.
Our average ticket dropped.
Yeah,
but here's our conversion rates went up. So we sold more of those average tickets.
Yes, and what's also more important is that your profit margins went up, probably because your gross margins increased.
Gross margins increased.
Yeah,
so did net.
And so did net. And so the thing is, because I think average ticket, people will probably view that much like they view top line revenue.
Yep.
My average ticket's $4,400. Like something
so
like,
what?
Oh, I'm awesome.
You sell one of them a month?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, if your net margins are really small, it doesn't really matter if your average ticket's at $10,000.
It doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. So if you're like, yeah, man, my average ticket's $1,500, but boy, I got 50 net margins at the end of the day. You'd be like, oh, damn. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Huh. Yep. Interesting. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, you can lower prices, but you need to do it smart. You still have to hit. You have to lower prices and increase margin at the same time.
Yes.
If you lower prices and margin decreases, no bueno.
Yeah, you did it wrong.
Correct. You should. Then you're on the other end. You need to go back and raise prices.
Yeah.
Right? To increase gross margin. Okay. You can bundle items together. This is one we have been experimenting with over the last few months, and it works. So by bundling items together, you become more efficient, and you can pass a small portion of that along to the customer, and then keep a small portion of that for yourself. Okay. In which case you gain efficiency that shows up on your gross margin. Your gross margin goes up because your labor costs go down.
Yeah.
Okay. Typically, your material costs will go down as well because you're actually more efficient on materials the more you sell.
Interesting.
If you're going to go to, 10 jobs in a day with small material costs, you're going to be really inefficient with those materials. But if you go to one job and all the materials are bought for one job, you're going to be much more efficient on that one job.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Jobs with larger material costs.
Yeah.
Such as and longer jobs typically have higher higher cost material items. For example, like a water heater. When you go to replace a water heater, the majority of the materials are the water heater. It's pretty tough to be inefficient on the cost of a water heater.
Right. Sure.
You're typically pretty efficient. If you're inefficient on anywhere, it's going to be like the 90s, maybe you got a couple extra fittings in the stack
Right.
or something like that, right? Maybe you have a few more gas fittings or whatnot. But the bulk of the materials are just the water heater. So you're going to be inefficient on a small portion of the materials, right? Knowing that, you can pass some of the savings on and then essentially lower your cost on the water heater and have the same effect of lowering your prices.
Yeah.
You gain efficiency.
Gotcha.
Okay? Which is going to help with conversion rates, which is going to drive revenue, which is going to drive down labor costs and material costs. Okay. Pretty awesome, huh?
It is awesome.
That's the coolest part to me.
The bundling is the coolest part?
I love that stuff. It's fascinating. Okay. Number 4, you can pay your bills on time.
Boo.
Boo. You can pay your bills on time.
I just changed my name.
I don't understand why people don't pay their bills on time.
What are you talking about? What kind of bills?
Vendor bills. Pay your vendor off on time.
Okay. Elaborate. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
So I still to this day don't understand why, and maybe somebody knows and they can comment down below. But I have always paid off my vendor bills every single day.
Like
most,
supply house. What's another vendor other than
a day or two?
What's another vendor other than like a supply house?
All I have is supply house and credit cards.
Okay, gotcha.
And I pay off my supply house with my credit card and then pay off my credit card. And I pay supply houses, I pay the supply house and I pay the credit card pretty much every single day.
Gotcha.
The reason I do that is because I want to look at the cash balance in my bank account.
Sure.
And be able to know where I'm at.
And trust it. And not be like, oh, let's remember we got the supply thing that's always going to be $30K at the end of the month. So just subtract $30K from that.
Correct. And some months it could be $100K.
Sure.
Some months it could be $10K.
Yeah.
I want to pay it off every day so that I know. Because I want to know what my cash flow is. I want to know how I'm doing putting cash in my pocket. Because that's the ultimate goal.
What if you don't have enough money to pay off those bills every day?
Then you didn't, if you're buying the product and you're not selling it to the customer, something's wrong. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to sell it to my buddy who's putting it in his truck and reselling it for me.
You have another problem. You either have too much overhead.
Sure.
Your business is bigger than it should be.
Yeah,
you need
sure.
to scale back.
You got too many technicians. You're
not
paying
enough work.
Yeah. Okay.
Or you're not charging enough, or you're not marking materials up enough.
Yeah.
You have other problems.
Yeah. So I guess if you're in the camp of well, Jared, I would do that, but I just don't have enough money in my bank account to do that, then that's a symptom that you have other problems to think about.
Yeah. One of the problems we just listed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And you probably don't even know it because you don't have a bookkeeper and you don't look at your P&L. And if you did look at your P&L, you don't understand what it means.
Yeah. You might also just assume that it's normal to rack up a supply house bill and then pay it off at the end of the month. You just might think that, oh, that's just what everybody does. Duh.
Yeah. I've always paid them off every day. Since the day I started, I got a credit card. I bought materials for the job that I was doing that I already bid. And then I went and paid the vendor bill at the end of the day. Every day.
That makes sense to me.
I just like it. It's my preferred way.
You just close the loop.
I don't know why you would wait to pay your vendor bill. I can pay it, 30 days later. They go,
yeah, of course.
They go and tally up the month, and then it's due at the end of the next month.
Yep.
So things that you bought at the beginning of the month, you might not have to pay for 60 days. I don't want to do that.
What if like our argument is like, well, I want more cash in my bank account right now?
I don't like cash in my bank account when there's debt hanging out because it gives me a false.
Oh, nice rhyme.
It gives you a false sense of security.
Sure, it makes you think that you're doing better than you're doing.
Yep.
And also, and this is like almost the same thing, but you have more money available than you actually do.
Yeah.
The chances of you making a mistake are now very high.
Yeah, you don't actually have that money available.
No, but you have to constantly remember that.
But it's sitting in your bank account, but you don't actually have it available.
Also, think about the mental stress of looking at it and go, no, we can't touch that. It's not really there.
Yep.
Like then you're not living in reality.
No, you can't manage your cash flow.
Yeah.
You can, but it's hard.
Sure.
I'd rather just pay it off. It's easy.
Yeah, and be more comfortable, I guess.
Which brings you bring up a really good point though. Like, people need to be managing their cash flow. They need to understand how much cash they actually have and where their cash is going. It's an extremely important part of your business. The way that we've always done that was with Profit First.
Sure.
So there's a book called Profit First for Contractors, and it gives you a system, and you can do it in QuickBooks. QuickBooks has a thing where you can get QuickBooks bank accounts, and as money comes in, you can delegate it between different bank accounts.
Oh, so you don't have to like do it by yourself anymore?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to have Christelle go and like manually move stuff?
I believe you can set up rules in QuickBooks as well and have it automatically disperse the money to the different accounts. That's cool. Yes.
You still got to watch it though, because you want to. The point is being able to pay attention. Anyway, continue.
The point is you look at it and you know what your money is going to.
Yeah, I'm scared to look at my bank account because I don't like it. Doesn't have any money in it. I don't want to look at it.
That's a problem.
It makes me sad. I don't want.
That's a problem. You should look at it and go, "Crap, I have no money," and then let that motivate you to go make some dough or go make the changes you need to make in your business to make it freaking profitable.
It motivates me to want to go spend more to make myself feel better.
If your business isn't profitable, you need to make it profitable or shut it down. Don't continue to do what you're currently doing because you're only going to get the exact same thing, which is a business that isn't profitable, which is useless.
Yes, true.
Go get a job or make the changes, put in the work, do the hard stuff. Don't be lazy. I feel like people are lazy nowadays. You could literally listen to this podcast, grab this playbook right here, go get this playbook, go get this. There's literally no excuse. If you listen to this podcast, you read this playbook, by the way, you can get this link in the description below on YouTube, www.wealthyplumber.com/playbook. If you're listening, thank you, listeners. You guys are awesome.
You're special.
There's a lot of them. I'm surprised. You can grab this playbook. You can sign up for our coaching program. The investment that you will have made into getting literally everything you need is so small.
Oh, yeah. Compared to like what you actually get.
So small.
It's actually dumb.
It's stupid.
It's like real dumb.
It's the dumbest thing on the planet. To me, if you're not doing it, you're lazy or you believe something wrong and you're scared out of your mind to do probably what the best thing is for you. And if you can't commit yourself to doing that, you're not going to be able to commit yourself to running a good business.
Sure.
You need to turn it off and go get a job. That's it.
I just had a thought come to me about that. Can I share you my opinion on sort of that whole thing?
I guess.
So
it better be good.
I think it might be less laziness and more than like culture in this moment. Nobody trusts anything. Like right now we're at like distrust of everything.
It's so weird though, because
now hear me out. So like every facet of our lives right now is distrust is low. We don't trust our government because they screwed up COVID. We don't trust all these things. And so when somebody like us on this podcast is like, listen, come get information, it will change your business. People are much more like, yeah, but it probably doesn't. There's probably a catch that I'm not seeing, or there's something special about Jared and his market. It won't work for me.
Yeah.
And like, there's a little bit more than just unwillingness to do hard stuff. I think there's just a cultural distrust that we've just taken in and we haven't noticed it. It's like a parasite that lives in us now, and we don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
And so it comes back to sort of a mindset and a self-awareness to go, oh dang, yeah, me not trusting the government has now translated to me not trusting obvious ideas.
Yeah.
And see, it's like,
so you're taking a risk.
Yeah, and I mean, you're
taking a risk either way.
Yes, you're taking a risk. You're taking a risk continuing to do what you're doing without knowing what you're doing.
If you continue to do what you're doing, you know for certain what you're going to get, right? Mm-hmm. And the risk is you're going to continue to get the same result. That's 100%. Like the risk is extremely high. Okay. On the other end, if you go read this playbook, you watch all of our podcast episodes, you go spend the money to get in our program, the risk you take, it's like, okay, what, maybe a 50-50 chance in their head? Even if it was like, I know it's 100% chance you're going to be way better off if you just get in the program and do the stuff. But if it was a 50-50 chance, I'd take that risk over the 100% chance that I'm going to fail. It makes zero sense to me.
I still think that people have this idea in their head that they're like, no, I'll have an epiphany moment somewhere in the future that I'll suddenly
That's
I'll
true.
get all the leads and I'll get all the stuff and like, it'll just happen.
That's true. But let me be totally honest with you. Mm-hmm. Everything that's in this playbook, this is not what people want to hear, by the way, but I'm going to tell them anyways. Everything that's in my playbook, everything that's in my course and my coaching program, and everything we talk about on this podcast, I learned from someone else.
Whoa. Damn, I thought you were like...
None of this...
I thought you were the OG.
None of this is an original idea. This is me investing time and money to learn and gain skills and get better. And then I'm just passing those skills on to you guys. And the only reason my business is successful is because I made the investment to learn this stuff. And I just copied what other people were doing.
Yeah, and then, well, I would say that you copied what people were doing. You made the investment to copy what people are doing, because that's an investment.
Yeah.
And then you applied it into your business, and then you continue to seek wisdom and understanding and how to apply it.
Yep.
By doing that, you increased your level of an understanding.
Yep.
And now, since you've been teaching everybody for so long, you've have even a higher level of understanding.
Yep.
And that's why you can do what you do.
Exactly.
And that whole thing is available to anybody listening or watching.
Everybody.
This. Like it's...
You know how many hours of YouTube I've watched?
A couple. A couple at least.
A couple. Okay, let's keep going down here. That's a whole nother topic. If that's you, quit being lazy.
Or quit being afraid, or quit like distrusting everything.
Dude, I don't know. If you don't take any risk, there's no reward.
Yeah, well, and the thing, just like you said, like you are taking a risk by not taking a risk.
Yeah, but you're taking a risk with 0% chance of a payoff. There is zero reward.
There is a risk in, I mean, if you think about it, like, hey, every time I leave my house, it's a risk. But there's just as much risk, if not higher, than me never leaving my house. Like, it's like, okay, if I send my kids outside to play, I'm taking a risk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep them inside for the rest of their life where I can watch them to keep them safe.
Dude, my aunt and uncle did that with their kids.
Sounds like a risky move.
Dude, they're a bunch of weirdos. They are. Like, it was so, when I was a kid, it was super strange. So my cousin stayed inside. He didn't go outside. He didn't know how to ride a bike.
It's scary out there.
He was like 12 years old, didn't know how to ride a bike.
Hey, I didn't know how to ride a bike till I was 19. Look how I turned out.
Okay. Anyway, he would literally stay inside and watch video games or play video games because his parents were scared that he was going to get hurt. They quit letting my grandpa come over to their house because my grandpa said shit.
Whoa. Don't let your dad hear you say that.
I know. My dad will freak out. And all their kids, my cousin still lives at home to this day.
He's probably really afraid of a lot of stuff.
He's like 42 years old.
He's probably terrified of life.
Yeah.
Or he's absolutely complacent.
Well, something. To this day, when I talk to him, the only thing he can talk about is video games at 42 years old.
Is he making a lot of money, like streaming them online?
He makes $0. He doesn't have a job.
Dang.
No girlfriend, no friends, just mom and dad.
Yeah, see, to me, that seems like a very large risk.
Huge.
To put like my children in that position or myself in that position.
Exactly. And that's what most business owners are doing.
Yeah, they just sit there.
They're just out there just hustling day in and day out and day in and day out. And they're going to keep hustling for day in and day out and day in and day out. And I've been there. That sucks.
It does suck.
It's freaking miserable.
Sometimes it's all you know how to do, and so you do it. And also there's a part that like you have to recognize that if you're the business owner who's doing that, and like let's say your wife is running the books.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorite moments is when the wife books the call for the husband.
Yeah.
And then I pick up with the husband and he's like, "Oh, my wife must have did this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Hey, you know why she did that?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "Probably because you're working all the time. She probably wants you to be at home."
Yeah.
But the thing is that business owner has to face the fact that he's not taking responsibility for his business.
Yeah.
Like if you are just going, "Well, I just got to run the calls. I'm too busy."
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, well, something's wrong. Especially if you've been doing this for like 15 years.
Yeah.
Then there's responsibility that you are not taking.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to just look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm actually not doing a good job.
Yeah. Dude, you're making the show today.
You know, sometimes even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
You're so dumb. I don't even know what to say to that.
That's why I said it. Just
Okay.
get you to shut up every now and again. You know?
You can pay your bills on time. If you pay your vendors off on time, they're going to be more likely to negotiate better rates with you.
True.
If you have a vendor that you use all the time, a main vendor, and you always pay your bills on time, and you go to another vendor and you're like, give me some quotes on this stuff, and you go back to your main vendor and you're like, look, I can get this stuff cheaper elsewhere. I don't want to. I want to keep shopping here. Can you get close to this? They're going to lower their prices, and you're going to lower your material costs. And if you charge the same amount of money for it, guess what happens?
You just have more gross margin.
Gross margin goes up. Simple as that. Okay. So pay your bills on time.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if it's right before they're due, just pay them on time. What the vendor considers on time.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, last one, number 5. This is probably the biggest one that's going to affect gross margin. And it kind of, a bunch of these are within here. But you can just be more efficient. Right?
Are you saying just like be better and like do the work better?
Yeah. Just be more efficient. So track your job time efficiency.
Sure.
Right? You can raise efficiency by adding hours on tasks.
Sure.
Like if you have a task in your price book that takes your guys 2 hours every single time, but you have it as an hour, your job time efficiency on that is 50%. If you just added an hour to the task, then your job time efficiency goes to 100%.
Didn't you tell me a story of some guy whose their job time efficiency was like 5%?
I was looking at somebody's job time efficiency the other day. It was like 4%. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the most insane thing I think I've ever heard.
I look at this all the time, and it's always like 50%, 40%. And so I tell the person, I'm like, so for every 100 hours you work at somebody's house, you're only billing 50 of them. Or think about it this way. For every 100 hours that you bill out, you're having to work 200 hours to make that money.
Yeah.
On site.
Yeah. It's essentially like, hey, man, you're going to donate. Like if I'm the customer, I'm like, hey, Jared, you're going to come over to my house. You're going to do a 50-hour job, but you're going to just give me 50 hours for free.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're just going to hang out at my house for an extra 50.
Yeah.
And you're going to be okay with that.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's typically caused by not having enough time allotted on the tasks in your price book.
How much do you think it is like the business owner builds the price book for his own specifications and just never updates that?
Yeah, you should update it. You should be tracking that.
Yeah.
Looking at it. It's a hard thing to track, but if you just watch that one metric, you can see it in service type. I mean, it's called billable efficiency. It's just measuring how much time you bid and how much time you actually worked on the jobs. And it measures from the time the technician dispatches till the time they complete the job. And then it compares it to how many hours they actually bid that job for. And it'll give you a billable efficiency number.
Sure. And is that number like the 4% or the 50%?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then it's pretty easy to say, oh my gosh, on these tasks, we are not anywhere close.
Correct.
And then the solution is just add hours, right?
Yeah. You just add time.
Yeah.
And then guess what's going to happen? You're going to sell more time. You essentially raise your prices by doing that.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
but you're actually charging what you need to charge.
Yeah, you're actually making the real world experience of your business is now
Yep.
matching with the pricing structure that you have in place.
Correct. And there's two things that happen here. The owner, when setting up the price book, is putting time on things, and then he's seeing the price and he's going, "Oh my gosh, it doesn't really take 2 hours. We could probably get it done in an hour and a half."
Yeah.
Because he's worried about the price. What I did when I was building my price book, I couldn't, at the time in Service Titan, you couldn't turn off what you see. I put tape over my screen.
Oh, so you couldn't see the price.
I couldn't see the price.
That's interesting. So you recognize that you saw the price and you're like, ugh, it made you feel a certain way.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Then you just removed that block.
Yeah.
By not seeing it.
There's one to this day every time. Actually, I haven't updated my prices in forever. My GM does that. But I used to go in and update prices, and the way Service Titan used to do it, you would update hours on all your tasks, and then you would go run the pricing setup. And after that, it would give you a list of all the tasks that you just updated, what the new prices are and what the old prices were. And you can compare to make sure it did its job properly. And there's one, it's a fuel pump. So we have oil boilers. They need fuel pumps that pump fuel from the fuel tank, spit it into the boiler at a high pressure through a nozzle, and it ignites that and creates a flame. Well, the fuel pump's like a $280 pump.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of guys will run in, they'll be like, fuel pump's bad. They'll replace it and they'll split.
Like without charging for it, or?
No, they'll charge for it, but they'll just split right after they replace it.
Yeah.
The proper thing to do is to replace the fuel pump, check the pressure,
Of course.
adjust the pressure to manufacturer's recommendations, and then run a flue gas analysis on the boiler to make sure it's burning properly.
Yeah, gotcha.
That it has enough air to burn safely.
Yeah.
We do that every time. And so it takes, by the time you talk to the customer, you diagnose the bad fuel pump, you replace the fuel pump, you do the pressure test, you do the diagnostic on the stack.
Yeah, you get the printout.
You get the printout, you invoice the customer, all that stuff. It takes like 2 hours.
Sure.
And so our fuel pump price is like $1,800 and it's a $280 pump. And every time I would update prices, that's the thing I would see.
Yeah.
And it would go up and up and up and up. And I was like, holy moly. It just, and it would get me every time. So I quit looking at it.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you can do. Okay. So job time efficiency, time on your tasks, you're either lowering the time because you're worried about the price.
Sure.
Or what we have in our price book is we have a custom task section where if it's not in the price book, then the technician can go in and say, okay, I'm looking at this work, because it's impossible to put everything in your price book.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
And they say, I think it's going to take me an hour. So they select the hour task. And then they have a range of prices they can select where they select how much the materials are going to cost. And then
roughly or exact?
Hopefully they think hopefully they're like, this is going to be 150. I'm going to bid it at 250.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's ideally what you want.
Yeah.
Teach them to build buffer into everything.
Yeah.
And then it's going to give them the task that has the price. And all they got to do is edit the description to match the work they're going to do and present to the customer. Okay. The problem with this is if you don't have a commission structure in place that incentivizes your employees to drive revenue, what they're going to do is they're going to go to the customer's house and they're going to assume that customer wants the work as cheap as possible because that's what your technicians assume.
Yeah.
And they are going to underbid everything.
Sure.
And it's going to drive your billable efficiency down.
Sure.
Which is going to drive your margin down.
Right.
Right? Because your labor costs are going to go through the roof because they're going to be bidding it for 4 and it takes them 6.
Right.
Every time. Your material and labor costs are going to go through the roof. So you have to combat that with, number one, training.
Sure, of course.
Hey guys, here's what a P&L is. To have these conversations with them. This is how the business operates. This is how we make our money. We have to hit gross margins on this. This is how that translates to how you bid stuff out in the field. And a good commission structure with no ceiling. That incentivizes them to say, I think this is going to take me 5, so I'm going to bid it for 6 because then I know I get it done on time and my commission is bigger.
Right.
You also need to talk to them about billable efficiency, job time efficiency, and show them. We put ours on a TV. We update it every week. What was your job time efficiency last week?
Sure.
Minimum, it should be 80%.
Yeah.
Minimum. The higher, the better. I mean, you really want it to be 100%.
Sure. Of course.
Yeah. Hands down. Okay. So, what is the other way you can be more efficient? It's the last item on this list.
In sort of like the cutting cost paradigm?
Yep.
You can have better close rates?
No.
Oh, dang. That wasn't even a joke that time. I was like, that was like the only thing we hadn't really talked. We kind of talk about it.
That's like
it's like roped in with everything else.
It is.
But
that's like your close rates will go up if you do these other things.
Yeah. And then like additional training is probably A, unnecessary, or B, just like really icing on the cake.
Yes. Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You can simplify, streamline, and automate your processes.
Sure.
So go through every job position and just make a list of like, what does this person do all day, every day? And then split that list up into revenue generating, like direct revenue generating, or just busy work, or non-revenue generating.
Yeah.
Okay. Make a T-graph. And then show them, explain to them, the only things I need you to do at this company, you have 2 main purposes here. Drive revenue, drive customer satisfaction. Which things on this list do you think drive revenue and drive customer satisfaction? Okay, I want you to stop doing the majority of the stuff that doesn't and do more of the stuff that does.
Sure.
Because that's going to help us drive revenue and drive customer satisfaction.
Right.
Make sense? Okay. Dude, you know what? One other thing we did.
Why not?
So we know our numbers very well. We know exactly what revenue we need to hit to make. When I was talking about this, I was thinking about CSR. So that's how I thought of this.
Sure.
We know exactly how much revenue we needed to produce to break even. Once we break even, we allow our CSRs.
Oh, and you know that because you've looked at your trailing P&L for the last 12 months. So you have a really good feel of your overhead and all your stuff.
Yep. Including materials and labor and all that stuff.
Sure.
It's like $350,000, somewhere in there. Once we hit that number for the month, which we just hit this month, our CSRs will start going back and calling all the unsold estimates. Okay.
Do you have quite a bit of those?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we have a 70% conversion rate, then 30% of our estimates are unsold.
Yeah. They're all estimates just hanging out.
And it might be just a customer. They're like, it's not that important to me. So to spend that money on it, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
And if you,
or the I'll do it later kind of thing.
So we call them up and we offer them a 15% discount because at that point, those jobs, the margins on them are massive.
Yeah. Because we've already
covered our labor costs for the month. We've already covered the majority of our materials for the month.
Oh yeah, sure.
We've covered all our overhead for the month. And the only thing left we have to do is make up for the materials on the jobs that are left over. And that's it. Everything else is paid for.
Sure.
So the only cost for those jobs are the materials. And then it's pure profit.
Yeah.
And our material costs are 20%. So we're at 80% margin on those jobs. Huge. Okay. So when we offer a 15% discount, we still make a ton of money. And we start converting those jobs.
Yeah.
We convert a large portion of those jobs, which does what? Drives conversion rates up, brings in more revenue, and lowers our costs or lowers our COGS because our labor stays the same. Materials are always 20%.
Yeah, so you get lower COGS, higher gross margin.
Higher gross margin, correct.
Which then transfers down to your net margin.
Correct. And then we pay a 5% commission on anything that the CSR converts to the CSR.
That's cool.
Which incentivizes them in the beginning of the month to help the technicians drive revenue so they can hit the point to where they get to start calling back and earning a 5% commission.
Yeah.
It also incentivizes them to outbound dial, which no CSR likes to do.
Yeah, but if they know that, hey, if I can, especially if they're looking at the unsold estimates and they're like, oh my gosh, here's a 20K unsold estimate. I can get 5% of 20K.
You just hit on another good topic. It also incentivizes them to call the right people back.
Yeah, because then they're incentivizing
in the right order.
Because they're trying to find the revenue. They're trying to game the system for themselves.
Yeah.
And really what you want is you want a system that when your employees hack the system and they game it for themselves, you end up winning anyway.
Yes.
You don't,
and then you can show them how to game it for themselves. And they're like, you're just letting me do this? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, like you're letting me make more money? Like, of course I am. I would love for you to make more money.
Yeah. And they're like, my boss is awesome.
Yeah, like I just get to make as much money as I want here.
Yep.
And you're like, yes, please do.
True. Very true. It's cool. Okay. Focus on margin.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty strong lever.
Okay. And last but not least, go grab our playbook, dude. It's got so much crap in it. It's awesome. We update it all the time. So grab a new copy. Go to click the link in the description or go to www.wealthyplumber.com/playbook.
Blah, blah.
Blah, blah.
See you,
Later.
Jared.